In the vast emptiness of space where stars seemed like distant specks and silence ruled supreme, a group of explorers from the Valith race floated silently in their sleek, silver ship. The Valith were an aquatic species, with smooth, translucent skin that shimmered faintly under artificial light. Their large, dark eyes were adapted to see clearly even in the darkest depths of water, or the void of space. They had been traveling for months, searching for signs of ancient civilizations or forgotten technology. It was Commander J-Ho who first noticed the strange object on their scanners. The readings were unusual. A massive structure, cold and lifeless, drifted aimlessly through the darkness. At first glance, it looked like a piece of debris, perhaps the remains of some long-lost asteroid mining operation. But as they moved closer, the shape became clearer. It wasn't just any object. It was a ship. An enormous, battered ship, its surface covered in scars and burn marks. The design was foreign, unlike anything the Valith had ever encountered before. Its hull was jagged and uneven, as if it had survived countless battles. Strange symbols etched into the metal glowed faintly, pulsing with a dim greenish light. J-Ho called his crew to the command center. Among them was Hyun-ji, a linguist known for her ability to decipher languages long thought extinct. Her sharp mind and curiosity had made her one of the most valuable members of the team. Beside her stood Lieutenant Dae-sung, a soldier whose stern expression rarely changed. He was fiercely loyal to J-Ho, but carried a deep mistrust of outsiders, shaped by years of conflict with rival alien races. "What do you think it is?" asked one of the crew members, breaking the silence. "It's a ship," J-Ho replied calmly, though his voice betrayed a hint of excitement. "An old one. Look at the damage. This thing has seen centuries of war." Hyun-ji leaned forward, her eyes scanning the image on the screen. "Those symbols, they're not random. They look like writing. Some kind of language. Could it be Karuk?" Dae-sung asked, referring to their insectoid rivals. His tone was sharp, almost accusing. "No," Hyun-ji said firmly. "This isn't Karuk. I've studied their scripts. This is something else entirely." J-Ho nodded. "We need answers. Prepare a boarding party. Hyun-ji, you're coming with us. If there are records aboard, we'll need your expertise." The Valith ship approached cautiously, its engines humming softly as it aligned itself with the mysterious vessel. The airlock opened, revealing a dark, cavernous interior. The boarding party stepped inside, their suits equipped with lights that cut through the gloom. The walls were lined with strange machinery, much of it broken or inactive. Dust coated every surface, swirling gently in the artificial gravity of the ship. "It's abandoned," Dae-sung muttered, his weapon raised. "But why? Who would leave something like this behind?" Hyun-ji ignored him, already examining the walls. She traced her fingers over the symbols, murmuring to herself as she tried to make sense of them. These aren't just letters. They're stories, histories. Someone wanted to record their journey. As they ventured deeper into the ship, the true scale of its devastation became apparent. Entire sections were collapsed, crushed by impacts or explosions. Strange pods lay scattered across the floor, their contents long since emptied. In one chamber, they found what appeared to be control panels, though the screens were cracked and dark. Hyun-ji pressed a button experimentally, and to everyone's surprise, the panel flickered to life. A hologram sprang up, filling the room with ghostly images. Figures moved within the projection, speaking in a language none of them understood. The figures wore uniforms and carried weapons, their faces determined yet weary. Explosions flashed in the background and ships clashed in fiery battles above a blue planet. Earth. That was the name that appeared repeatedly in the translation program Hyun-ji activated. This is humanity," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They called themselves humans. This ship belonged to them." Commander J-Ho frowned. "Humans? I've never heard of them." "That's because they're gone," Hyun-ji said grimly. "Look at this." She pointed to a timeline embedded in the hologram. It showed thousands of years of conflict. Wars between nations, wars against other species, wars that ravaged entire planets, and then finally the end. A single catastrophic event that wiped out their homeworld. Dae-sung shook his head. "So they destroyed themselves. Typical." "It's not that simple," Hyun-ji snapped. "They fought to survive. Against each other, yes, but also against enemies far stronger than them. They held on for thousands of years, even when everything was against them." J-Ho placed a hand on her shoulder. What else can you find? Are there any clues about how they lived, or why they died? Hyunji nodded and continued working. Slowly, fragments of information began to emerge. Names appeared in the logs. Ji-eun, a general who united fractured factions during humanity's darkest hour. Min-soo, an engineer whose inventions prolonged Earth's survival despite overwhelming odds, and Haiwan, a scientist who warned future generations about the dangers of unchecked ambition. But there was something else. A weapon. A weapon so powerful it could reshape entire star systems. It was called the Eternal Flame. The logs described it as both a blessing and a curse, a tool capable of ending all wars, or starting new ones. As the Valith explored further, they realized they weren't alone. Sensors picked up movement elsewhere in the ship. Something or someone was watching them. Jae-ho tightened his grip on his weapon, signaling for the team to stay alert. Whoever they are, they know we're here, Dae-sung growled. We need to move fast. Hyunji hesitated, torn between fear and fascination. This ship was a treasure trove of knowledge, a window into a civilization that had risen and fallen long before the Valith existed. But it was also dangerous, filled with secrets that could change the course of history, if they survived long enough to uncover them. For now, the mystery remained unsolved. But one thing was certain. The discovery of this ancient human ship would alter the fate of the galaxy, and perhaps the universe itself. The Valith crew worked tirelessly inside the ancient human ship, piecing together fragments of a story that spanned thousands of years. Hyunji sat cross-legged on the cold, metallic floor, her holographic tablet glowing faintly in the dim light. Around her, the rest of the team moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing softly against the scarred walls. The air was heavy with dust and the weight of history. Every step they took seemed to stir memories of a civilization long gone. Hyunji's fingers danced across the tablet as she translated more of the symbols etched into the ship's walls. Each discovery brought new insights and new questions. She learned about heroes like General Ji-eun, whose leadership united humanity during its darkest days. Ji-eun had been a warrior, yes, but also a diplomat, forging alliances between warring factions when survival depended on cooperation. There were logs detailing how Ji-eun rallied soldiers and civilians alike, inspiring hope even as the skies burned with fire from alien invaders. Then there was engineer Min-soo, a quiet genius who designed machines that kept Earth alive longer than anyone thought possible. His inventions included energy shields to protect cities from orbital bombardments and recycling systems that turned ash and rubble into breathable air and drinkable water. Humanity owed much of its resilience to Min-soo's ingenuity. Yet for all his brilliance, he couldn't save them forever. But it was Dr. Haewon's voice that lingered most in Hyunji's mind. Haewon had been a scientist, one of the last great thinkers of humanity. Her recordings were haunting, filled with warnings and regrets. In one log, she described the creation of the Eternal Flame, a weapon so powerful it could reshape entire star systems. It was meant to be humanity's ultimate defense, a failsafe against extinction. But Haewon feared what might happen if such power fell into the wrong hands, or worse, if humanity itself became consumed by greed and ambition. If you find this ship, Haewon said in a trembling voice, do not seek the Eternal Flame. Some knowledge is better left buried. Hyunji felt a chill run down her spine. Those words carried a weight she couldn't ignore. What had humanity done to warrant such dire warnings? And what would happen if others, like the Valith or their enemies, discovered this weapon? As she delved deeper into the archives, tensions grew among the crew. Commander Jae-ho remained calm and focused, but Lieutenant Dae-sung grew increasingly restless. He paced the corridors, his weapon always at the ready. Dae-sung had seen too many wars, too many betrayals. To him, every shadow held a threat, every sound a potential ambush. We're wasting time, he muttered one evening as the team gathered in the ship's central chamber. We should leave this place before something bad happens. And go where? Hyunji shot back, her voice sharp. This ship holds answers we've been searching for our entire lives. We can't just walk away. Dae-sung glared at her. You think I don't know that? But look around you. This place is cursed. Everything here screams death and destruction. Do you really want to bring that back to our people? Jae-ho stepped between them, his tone firm but gentle. Enough. Both of you have valid points, but arguing won't solve anything. Hyunji, keep working. Dae-sung, stay alert. If there's danger, we'll face it together. For a moment, silence fell over the group. Then, without warning, the ship shuddered, violently. Lights flickered and alarms blared throughout the corridors. The crew scrambled to steady themselves as the ground beneath their feet shook. "What's happening?" someone shouted. "I don't know," Jae-ho replied, gripping a nearby railing. "Check the sensors." Hyun-ji's heart raced as she accessed the ship's systems through her tablet. The readings were chaotic, showing energy spikes in multiple areas of the vessel. Something or someone was activating dormant systems. "It's not us," she said, her voice tight with fear. "Someone else is here." Before anyone could respond, a low hum filled the air. From the shadows emerged figures unlike any the Valith had ever seen. They were tall and insectoid, their exoskeletons gleaming under the faint light. Their eyes glowed red, scanning the room with predatory precision. These were the Karak, the Valith's oldest and deadliest rivals. Queen Sarah stepped forward, her presence commanding. Unlike her soldiers, she wore an intricate headdress made of shimmering metal, marking her status as ruler. Her voice was sharp and cold, cutting through the tension like a blade. "You shouldn't have come here," she said, addressing Jae-ho directly. "This ship belongs to us now." Jae-ho straightened, his expression hardening. "We found it first. Whatever secrets it holds, they belong to no one unless we choose to share them." Sarah's lips curled into a cruel smile. "You always were naive, Jae-ho. Secrets are power, and power belongs to those strong enough to take it." The two groups faced off, weapons drawn. The Valith outnumbered the Karak, but the insectoids were fierce warriors known for their speed and brutality. For several tense moments, neither side moved. The stalemate was broken when one of the Karak soldiers lunged forward, sparking a violent clash. Chaos erupted as the two factions fought for control of the ancient ship. Blasts of energy lit up the dark corridors, leaving scorch marks on the walls. The Valith fought valiantly, but the Karak's ferocity gave them the upper hand. Jae-ho ordered his crew to retreat, buying time for Hyun-ji to secure critical data from the archives. Hyun-ji hesitated, torn between duty and fear. She knew the importance of the information she carried, but the sounds of battle behind her made her stomach churn. Finally, she forced herself to focus, downloading files onto her tablet as quickly as possible. Nearby, Dae-sung stood guard, firing bursts of energy at the advancing Karak. "Hurry up!" he yelled, his voice strained. "They're coming!" "I'm almost done," Hyun-ji shouted back, her fingers flying over the screen. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the chamber. Debris rained down, forcing Hyun-ji to dive for cover. When she looked up, she saw Dae-sung standing alone, holding off a wave of Karak soldiers. His movements were slower now, his energy reserves nearly depleted. "Go," he barked, his voice hoarse. "I'll hold them off." "No," Hyun-ji cried, tears streaming down her face. "We can still—" "There's no time!" Dae-sung interrupted, his tone final. "Save the data, save our people." With one last burst of strength, he unleashed a devastating attack, sending shockwaves through the chamber. The Karak recoiled, giving Hyun-ji just enough time to slip away. As she ran, she heard Dae-sung's final words echo in her mind. "For the Valith." When she reached the others, Jae-ho greeted her with a mixture of relief and sorrow. He didn't need to ask what had happened. The look in her eyes told him everything. Together they regrouped and prepared to face whatever came next. Unbeknownst to them, Queen Sarah watched from the shadows, her expression unreadable. She had lost soldiers in the skirmish, but the prize, the secrets of the ancient ship, was still within reach. And she wasn't about to let anyone stand in her way. The battle may have paused, but the war was far from over. The ancient human ship was now a battleground, its once silent halls filled with the sounds of conflict. The Valith and the Karak stood divided, their weapons drawn and their eyes locked in a deadly stare. Commander Jae-ho tried to steady his breathing as he surveyed the scene. His crew was battered but alive, though the loss of Lieutenant Dae-sung weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Hyun-ji clutched her tablet tightly, the precious data she had retrieved feeling like both a lifeline and a burden. Queen Sarah moved forward, her soldiers forming a tight circle around her. Her red eyes gleamed with determination, and her voice cut through the tension like a blade. "You've caused enough trouble," she said coldly. "Hand over the information you've gathered, and I might let you leave this ship alive." Jae-ho stepped forward, his posture firm despite the odds. "This isn't your fight, Sarah. Whatever secrets this ship holds, they don't belong to you. Or to me. They belong to the galaxy. To everyone." Sarah laughed, a sharp, mocking sound that echoed through the chamber. "Don't try to lecture me about morality, Jae-ho. You know as well as I do that power decides who gets what. and right now my people are stronger than yours. Hyunji couldn't stay silent any longer. You're wrong, she shouted, her voice trembling but defiant. This ship doesn't just hold power. It holds warnings. Humanity destroyed itself chasing weapons like the eternal flame. Do you really want to make the same mistake? For a moment, Sarah hesitated. Her gaze shifted to the walls, where faint green symbols still glowed. She had seen fragments of the archives during her team's brief exploration. Tales of war, sacrifice, and ultimate ruin haunted those records. But ambition burned within her, fueling her desire to claim the weapon for herself. We'll decide what to do with the knowledge, Sarah finally replied, her tone icy. Not you. The standoff grew more intense, each side unwilling to back down. The Carrack began to advance, their insectoid bodies moving with eerie precision. Jeho signaled his crew to form a defensive line, their weapons raised. Another battle seemed inevitable, but Jeho knew they couldn't win. Not here, not against the Carrack's superior numbers and ferocity. Wait, Jeho called out, raising a hand to halt his team. He turned to Sarah, his expression calm but resolute. If we fight again, we'll destroy what's left of this ship, and everything it contains. Neither of us will get what we came for. Sarah tilted her head, intrigued but suspicious. What are you suggesting? A truce, Jeho said firmly. Temporary, of course. We work together to stabilize the ship and retrieve the remaining data. Once we're done, we'll discuss what to do next. If we don't cooperate, we risk losing everything, including our lives. The Carrack Queen studied him carefully, weighing the risks and benefits. Finally, she nodded. Very well. A truce. For now. But don't think this makes us allies, Jeho. With the agreement in place, the two groups set aside their weapons and focused on the task at hand. The ship's systems were failing, its ancient mechanisms groaning under the strain of centuries of neglect. Power surges threatened to overload the core, and sections of the vessel were collapsing without warning. Working alongside the Carrack felt unnatural for the Velith, but survival took priority over pride. Hyunji worked tirelessly, her focus unwavering as she sifted through the archives. She uncovered more details about humanity's struggles, their triumphs and tragedies. General Ji-eun's leadership inspired hope even in the darkest times, while engineer Min-soo's innovations prolonged Earth's survival long after it should have fallen. But it was Dr. Haewon's final message that lingered most in Hyunji's thoughts. If you find this ship, Haewon had said, her voice filled with urgency, do not seek the eternal flame. Some knowledge is better left buried. Hyunji shared these words with Jeho, hoping to sway him from pursuing the weapon further. We can't ignore her warning, she pleaded. If we take this knowledge back, it could lead to disaster. For everyone. Jeho sighed, torn between duty and caution. I understand your concerns, Hyunji, but we can't simply abandon this discovery. It's too important. What we do with it, that's what matters. As the hours passed, tensions simmered beneath the surface. The Velith and Carrack worked side by side, but trust was non-existent. Every glance, every movement carried an unspoken threat. Queen Sarah kept a close eye on Hyunji, watching as the linguist pieced together fragments of humanity's history. She didn't fully understand the significance of the archives, but she recognized their potential value. One evening, as the crew rested in a makeshift camp, Jeho approached Sarah. He found her standing near a damaged control panel, her expression unreadable. Why are you really here? He asked quietly. Sarah turned to face him, her red eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Isn't it obvious? My people need power to survive. The galaxy is cruel, Jeho. If we don't take what we need, someone else will. And if taking it means destroying yourselves? Jeho countered. Is it worth it? Sarah hesitated, her usual confidence wavering for the first time. Survival isn't always pretty, she admitted. But it's all we have. Before Jeho could respond, a sudden alarm blared throughout the ship. Lights flashed wildly, and the ground shook violently. Both teams scrambled to their feet, searching for the source of the disturbance. Hyunji rushed to her tablet, her fingers flying across the screen as she analyzed the readings. It's the core, she exclaimed. It's destabilizing. Panic spread among the crew as they realized the gravity of the situation. If the ship's core failed, it would trigger a catastrophic explosion, wiping out everyone aboard. Without hesitation, Jeho and Sarah coordinated their efforts, combining their skills to contain the crisis. The Valith handled repairs to the HFY external systems while the Karak focused on stabilizing the core itself. Yunji stayed behind, using the ship's holographic interface to guide them through the process. Her knowledge of the ancient technology proved invaluable, allowing the team to bypass critical failures and restore partial functionality. Despite their differences, the two factions worked seamlessly, driven by a shared goal: survival. As the immediate danger subsided, an uneasy calm settled over the group. Exhausted but alive, they regrouped in the central chamber. Jeho addressed the crew, his voice steady despite the weariness in his eyes. "We made it through this together. That proves something. Maybe not trust, but at least mutual respect." Sarah nodded reluctantly. "Agreed, but don't mistake this for friendship, Jeho. Once we leave this ship, our alliance ends." Jeho didn't argue. He knew better than to expect anything more from the Karak Queen. Instead, he turned his attention to Hyunji. "What's next? Have you found anything else?" Hyunji hesitated before speaking. "There's something hidden deeper in the ship. A chamber protected by advanced security measures. I think it might contain the prototype of the eternal flame." The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. The weapon humanity had feared and warned against was within reach. For a moment, no one spoke. Then slowly, Jeho turned to Sarah. "What do you say, Your Majesty? Should we open it?" Sarah's eyes narrowed, calculating. "Let's see what humanity left behind. But remember, one wrong move, and we'll both regret it." With cautious steps, the group ventured deeper into the ship, following Hyunji's directions. The air grew colder, heavier, as they approached the hidden chamber. When they finally reached it, they found themselves standing before a massive door etched with intricate patterns. Symbols pulsed faintly, responding to their presence. Hyunji placed her hands on the control panel, her heart pounding. "Here goes nothing," she whispered. As the doors slid open, revealing the contents of the chamber, the crew held their breath. Inside lay a sleek metallic device radiating a faint golden glow. It was small yet undeniably powerful, humming softly as if alive. This was the eternal flame, or at least part of it. For a moment, awe and fear mingled in the air. Humanity's greatest creation and greatest curse was now in their hands. What they chose to do with it would shape the future of the galaxy, and perhaps determine whether they repeated humanity's mistakes or forged a new path. Neither Jeho nor Sarah spoke. They simply stared at the device, knowing that the hardest decisions were yet to come. The Valith and Karak ships drifted apart, their paths diverging as they left the ancient human vessel behind. The battered ship floated silently in the void, its secrets locked away once more, waiting for another curious soul to stumble upon it. For now, though, it was quiet. Its glowing symbols dimmed, its chambers empty, its lessons buried deep within its walls. Back aboard the Valith vessel, Commander Jeho stood on the bridge, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. His mind was heavy with the weight of what they had discovered. Humanity's rise and fall had been a story of courage, ingenuity, and tragedy, a tale that resonated deeply with him. He thought about General Ji-eun's leadership, Engineer Min-soo's brilliance, and Dr. Haewon's warnings. These people had fought to survive, to protect their world, and ultimately to leave behind a message for those who might follow. Hyunji sat nearby, her tablet resting on her lap. She hadn't stopped thinking about the archives, replaying fragments of humanity's history in her mind. Their struggles reminded her of her own people, the Valith, and the challenges they faced in a galaxy filled with conflict. But there was something else, too. Hope. Despite everything, humanity had tried to learn from their mistakes. They had recorded their stories not just as a testament to their failures, but as a plea for others to do better. Lieutenant Dae-sung's sacrifice weighed heavily on her heart. He had given his life to ensure the survival of the crew, to protect the knowledge they carried. Hyunji knew she couldn't let his death be in vain. Whatever happened next, she vowed to honor his memory by using what they had learned wisely. On the Karak ship, Queen Sarah paced the command center, her thoughts turbulent. The journey had shaken her in ways she hadn't expected. She had come seeking power, believing it was the only way to secure her people's future. But the stories of humanity had planted seeds of doubt in her mind. Could strength alone truly guarantee survival? Or was there another path, one built on cooperation rather than conquest? Her soldiers watched her carefully, sensing her unease. One of them, The same soldier who had questioned her earlier approached cautiously. "Your Majesty," he began, his voice low and respectful. "What will you tell the council?" Sarah paused, turning to face him. Her red eyes glimmered faintly under the ship's dim lighting. "I don't know yet," she admitted. "What we found, it changes things. If we use this knowledge carelessly, we risk destroying ourselves and others." The soldier nodded slowly. "Perhaps it's time to rethink our approach. Strength is important, yes, but so is wisdom." Sarah didn't respond immediately. Instead, she gazed out at the stars, her expression unreadable. For the first time in years, she felt uncertain, not about her decisions, but about the direction her people were heading. Was domination truly the answer? Or could they forge a new path, one that prioritized peace over power? Meanwhile, back on the Valith ship, Jae-ho called for a meeting with his senior officers. Hyunji joined them, clutching her tablet tightly. The room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Everyone knew the stakes. They had uncovered knowledge that could reshape the galaxy. How they chose to handle it would define not just their people but countless others. "We need to share this," Hyunji said, firmly breaking the silence. "Not just with the Valith Council, but with the Galactic Council. Humanity's story is a warning, a lesson for all civilizations." Jae-ho nodded. "I agree. Keeping this secret would only invite mistrust and fear. Transparency is the only way forward." Others in the room voiced concerns, however. Some worried about how rival species would react, especially the Karuk. Others feared the consequences of revealing such powerful knowledge. What if someone decided to pursue the eternal flame despite the risks? "If we hide it," Jae-ho countered, "we become no better than those who seek power at any cost." Humanity's message was clear. Some knowledge must be handled with care, but hiding it entirely is not the answer. After much debate, the group reached a consensus. They would present the findings to the Galactic Council, emphasizing the importance of cooperation and restraint. It wouldn't be easy. There would be resistance, skepticism, and perhaps even hostility. But it was the right thing to do. As the Valith ship approached their home planet, preparations began for the presentation. Hyunji worked tirelessly, organizing the data into a coherent narrative. She included excerpts from humanity's logs, highlighting their struggles, achievements, and ultimate downfall. She also stressed Dr. Haewon's warnings, making sure the council understood the dangers of pursuing the eternal flame. When the day finally came, the council chamber was packed. Representatives from various species filled the seats, their expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. Jae-ho stepped forward, flanked by Hyunji. Together they presented humanity's story, using holographic projections to bring the ancient civilization to life. The audience listened intently, their initial skepticism giving way to awe and reflection. When the presentation ended, the room fell silent. Finally, one representative spoke up. "This is incredible," they said. "But what do you propose we do with this knowledge?" Hyunji stepped forward, her voice steady. "We propose transparency and education. Let this serve as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of unity. If we work together, we can avoid repeating humanity's mistakes." The council deliberated for hours before reaching a decision. They agreed to establish a joint initiative aimed at preserving and studying humanity's legacy. A coalition of scientists, historians, and diplomats would be formed to oversee the effort, ensuring that the knowledge was used responsibly. Queen Sarah attended the meeting remotely, her presence unexpected but significant. When it was her turn to speak, she surprised everyone. "My people have long believed in strength above all else," she admitted. "But humanity's story has shown me that survival requires more than power. It requires understanding, restraint, and sometimes compromise." Her words earned murmurs of approval from the council. Though many remained wary of the Karuk, her willingness to cooperate signaled a potential shift in their approach. In the weeks that followed, the coalition began its work. Teams were sent to study the ancient human ship, cataloging its contents and securing its secrets. Educational programs were launched across the galaxy, teaching younger generations about humanity's triumphs and tragedies. Slowly but surely, the lessons of Earth began to take root. For Hyunji, the journey was far from over. She continued to analyze the archives, uncovering new details about humanity's past. Each discovery reinforced her belief in the importance of sharing their story. She often thought about Dr. Haywan's final message, wondering if she had done enough to honor it. One evening, as she sat alone in her quarters, she received an unexpected visitor. It was Jae-ho carrying 2 cups of warm tea. He handed one to her and sat down beside her. "How are you holding up?" he asked gently. "I'm okay," she replied, managing a small smile. "It's strange, though. I feel like I've spent my whole life searching for answers, and now that I found them, I'm not sure what to do next." Jae-ho chuckled softly. "That's the burden of knowledge. But remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together." Hyunji nodded, feeling a sense of comfort wash over her. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew they would face them side by side. Far away, in the depths of space, the ancient human ship drifted onward, its secrets safely sealed away. Someday another civilization might find it, and perhaps choose a different fate. Until then, its legacy lived on, carried by those who dared to listen and learn. And so, the echoes of humanity's story continued to ripple through the stars, a quiet reminder that even in the face of extinction, hope could endure. The chamber housing the Eternal Flame prototype was eerily quiet, save for the soft hum emanating from the device itself. Its sleek, metallic surface gleamed faintly under the dim light, and its golden glow seemed to pulse in rhythm with some unseen heartbeat. The Valeth and Karak stood frozen, their eyes fixed on the weapon that had once been humanity's last hope and final curse. Hyunji stepped forward cautiously, her tablet in hand. She scanned the device, her fingers trembling as she analyzed its structure. This isn't fully operational," she said after a moment, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's incomplete, but it still radiates immense energy. Activating it could be dangerous." Queen Sarah moved closer, her red eyes narrowing as she studied the prototype. "Dangerous or powerful?" she asked, her tone sharp. "If humanity created this, they must have intended to use it. Why else would they leave it behind?" "It's not that simple," Hyunji replied firmly. "Dr. Haywan warned us. This weapon wasn't just a tool of war. It was a failsafe designed to reset the galaxy if conflict spiraled out of control. But resetting means destruction. Using it would wipe out advanced civilizations, sparing only primitive life forms." Sarah's lips curled into a cold smile. "So it's a weapon of mass extinction. Perfect. With something like this, we could eliminate our rivals and secure dominance over the galaxy." "No," Hyunji snapped, her voice rising in desperation. "That's exactly what Dr. Haywan feared. If we take this knowledge back, it'll lead to more wars, more suffering. We can't repeat humanity's mistakes." Commander Jae-ho placed a calming hand on Hyunji's shoulder before addressing Sarah. "Hyunji is right. This weapon represents everything humanity failed at. A cycle of destruction driven by greed and ambition. Do you really want to follow their path?" Sarah crossed her arms, her expression hardening. "You're naive, Jae-ho. The galaxy doesn't reward morality. It rewards strength. If we don't claim this power, someone else will. And when they do, they won't hesitate to use it against us." Jae-ho sighed, his gaze shifting between the prototype and the faces of his crew. He knew Sarah's logic carried weight among her people, and even some of his own. Power was tempting, especially when survival depended on it. But he also understood the cost. Humanity's archives were filled with stories of leaders who had pursued strength at any price, only to destroy themselves in the process. "We need to decide carefully," Jae-ho said finally. "This isn't just about us. It's about the future of every civilization in the galaxy. What kind of legacy do we want to leave behind?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. For several tense moments no one spoke. Then, unexpectedly, one of the Karak soldiers stepped forward. His exoskeleton was scarred from battle, and his glowing eyes flickered with uncertainty. "Your Majesty," he began hesitantly. "Perhaps there's another way. Humanity's records show they fought endlessly, yet they also tried to unite. Maybe we should learn from them instead of repeating their failures." Sarah turned to him sharply, her voice cutting through the silence. "Silence, you dare question me?" The soldier flinched but didn't back down. "I'm loyal to you, my queen, but I've seen too many wars, lost too many comrades. If this weapon brings only death, then what have we gained?" Sarah stared at him, her jaw tightening. For the first time, doubt flickered across her face. She glanced at Jae-ho, then at Hyunji, who met her gaze with unwavering determination. Slowly, she lowered her head, deep in thought. While the debate continued, Hyunji noticed something odd. The prototype's glow had grown brighter, and the hum had intensified. Alarmed, she examined her tablet again. "Something's wrong," she said urgently. "The device is destabilizing. If we don't act quickly, it could overload and trigger an explosion." Panic spread through the group as everyone realized the severity of the situation. Without hesitation, Jae-ho took charge. "We need to disable it," he ordered. "Hyunji, can you do it?" "I can try," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "But it'll require solving equations based on human mathematics. I'll need time." "Time we don't have," Daesung interrupted sharply. "Look at the readings. They're spiking faster than we can stabilize them." Jae-ho clenched his fists, weighing their options. Finally, he turned to Sera. "We need your help. Work with us to contain this or we'll all die here." Sera hesitated, her pride warring with practicality. After a long pause, she nodded curtly. "Fine. But if we survive this, the truce ends." With their combined efforts, the team sprang into action. The Valith focused on rerouting power away from the core, while the Karak worked to reinforce the chamber's structural integrity. Meanwhile, Hyunji knelt beside the prototype, her fingers flying across her tablet as she deciphered the complex calculations needed to deactivate the device. As she worked, fragments of humanity's history played in her mind. She remembered General Ji-yoon's bravery, Engineer Minsu's ingenuity, and Dr. Haewon's warnings. These people had faced impossible odds, yet they had chosen to fight, not just for themselves, but for a better future. Their struggles had been recorded so others might learn from them, not repeat their mistakes. Suddenly, the prototype emitted a deafening whine, and sparks flew from its surface. Hyunji gasped, realizing she was running out of time. One equation remained unsolved, its complexity beyond anything she had encountered before. Desperation clawed at her chest as she struggled to find a solution. "Hyunji!" Jae-ho shouted, his voice laced with urgency. "Can you finish it?" "I think so," she stammered, her hands shaking. "Just give me a few more seconds." Behind her, the Carrick soldier who had spoken earlier stepped forward. "Let me help," he offered, his voice calm but firm. "I may not understand human math, but I can assist however you need." Hyunji hesitated, then nodded. Together they worked frantically, combining their skills to solve the final equation. As the numbers aligned, the prototype's glow dimmed, and the hum softened, until it faded completely. Relief washed over the group as the immediate threat passed. Breathing heavily, Hyunji sat back on her heels, exhaustion etched into her features. "It's done," she whispered. "The device is stable, for now." Jae-ho approached her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You saved us," he said softly. "All of us." Sera watched silently, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "What happens next? Do we destroy it?" Hyunji shook her head. "Destroying it won't erase the knowledge. Someone else will find this ship someday, and they'll make the same choice we did. Instead, we need to seal it away to ensure no one uses it lightly." Jae-ho nodded in agreement. "Then that's what we'll do. We'll dismantle the prototype and lock away the remaining archives. Let humanity's legacy serve as a lesson, not a weapon." The decision wasn't easy, especially for Sera, whose instincts screamed for her to claim the power for herself. But as she looked around at the weary faces of both her soldiers and the Valith crew, she realized something important. Strength alone wasn't enough to secure the future. Cooperation, understanding, and restraint were equally vital, if not more so. Together, the two factions worked to dismantle the prototype and secure the chamber. They sealed the entrance with heavy metal plates, engraving a single message on the door. "Learn from our past. Choose wisely." When the task was complete, the group gathered one last time in the central chamber. The atmosphere was somber but hopeful, a fragile sense of unity lingering between them. Jae-ho addressed the crew, his voice filled with resolve. "This journey has shown us the best and worst of humanity, their courage, their failures, and their hopes for a better future. Let's honor their memory by striving for peace, not destruction." Sera nodded reluctantly, though her words carried a hint of defiance. "Don't mistake this for friendship, Jae-ho. My people will always act in our own interest. But perhaps there's room for cooperation too." As the teams prepared to leave the ancient ship, Hyun-ji lingered behind, staring at the sealed chamber. She felt a pang of sadness, knowing the weight of humanity's story would remain buried. For now. Yet she also felt a spark of hope. The discovery of this ship had changed them all, forcing them to confront their fears, ambitions, and responsibilities. When she finally joined the others, Jae-ho gave her a small smile. "Are you ready?" She nodded, clutching her tablet tightly. "Yes, let's go home." The Valeth and Carrick departed the derelict vessel together, leaving it adrift in the vast emptiness of space. Though their alliance was temporary, the lessons they had learned would stay with them forever. Someday another civilization might stumble upon the ancient human ship, and perhaps they would choose a different fate. For now, the echoes of humanity's legacy drifted silently among the stars, waiting to inspire or warn those who dared to listen.